Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? It is awesome to see you. Hopefully I have the orientation right on the video. I am live streaming here on YouTube, so I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. But let's put my video camera on its thing here and we'll see how we go. So let me know when you tune in if you can see everything. I'll try and stay right in the center here. Some of my subscribers have received their winter watercolor palette. And what that is, if you haven't received that, is it is a beautiful pink envelope filled with 3 different watercolor sets. These are handmade professional watercolor sets. There's Winter Glow. There is the Holiday Palette, which is this one, and there's Amber Fields. So when you see me painting with these, know that although I do have a few of these left for sale, they have to be ordered in advance mostly, and that's why there's a subscription for it, because I need to know how many people want them, and it takes me 3 months to put these out. So we just delivered them, and you guys are just getting into them right now. So I thought I would jump on here for my paid subscribers and do an early little crash course on painting some Christmas cards, because I thought it would be really fun for you guys. So whether you're catching me on the live stream or catching me on the replay, welcome. So glad that you're here. So if you received your kit, normally we open them month to month, right? But I encourage you, go ahead and open your holiday palette, because your Amber Fields is great for making Christmas cards. As you know, we did this one just recently, and with the beautiful olive in there, you can totally pull this off, right? You can make it a little more vivid. You can do these really beautiful, like November kind of December cards. But if you want something really, really Christmassy, then you do have to open the holiday palette, because the holiday palette has more vivid, lush Christmas colors. I can say though, can I just tell you, this I feel is the start of a really gorgeous landscape palette, and I'm gonna make a note of it because I do want to offer a new landscape palette this year coming up, and I feel like Amber Fields is such a good start, right? Like if we have a 12 color or an 8 color landscape palette, I feel like this one is just gorgeous, and I'm so excited to paint more with it now that I did this first one. And if you agree, let me know in the comments, because I feel like it has a lot of flexibility and a lot of potential as being a mainstay palette. I don't know, so every once in a while I just feel like, you know, one really kills it. I do love this one too. Last year's Christmas palette was also really beautiful. I feel like we could probably combine last year and this year's palette and have a really gorgeous winter palette if we wanted to, and I think that that would be amazing as well. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments on those. In the holiday palette, there is some beautiful handmade paper that you can fold and use as Christmas cards. So you can either fold them this way, or you can double fold them, or you can just cut them in half and then fold them that way. So there's a lot of different ways. It depends on what you did for envelopes, but I want to use these that we bought. I mean, I don't know, we bought them a long time ago. I'm not really sure if you guys all have them. You kind of know what I'm talking about, right? They're really beautiful, very, very heavyweight cotton paper, and it is kind of got texture on both sides, so I think that they would make amazing Christmas cards because the weight is really good. Although pretty much any card is going to be impressive to people if it's hand painted, so no matter what you're using, they're going to be pretty excited about it. But I really have never painted on this set before, and I feel like this is the time, you know, I want to make some Christmas cards, and I feel like this is it. So I'm going to go ahead and get out a few of my things here, and we're going to play with these. Now I am going to pre-fold them because I don't want to go outside of the fold, so I like to kind of set myself some limitations. So I'm going to fold these this way, And usually when you get them from me, they are pre-folded. So you don't actually have to do it yourself. I sit there and fold them for you. I like kind of having this uneven rough edge. I think that's so, so beautiful. Can I just say, are you not addicted to the way this looks on this like beautiful paper? I think even though this was a thinner 100% cotton paper, it is just so fun. So if you haven't picked up this paper on the website on Jack's Watercolor, definitely give it a try because this really was gorgeous. It was a process, like when I was painting it, because it's a thinner paper, I kind of felt like I should have told you just believe in the process, right? Like just wait, because when it dries and it hardens back up after the wet is done, because we were pretty much wet on wet, we really saturated it. It just is beautiful. It did not stay buckled. It dried really flat and it just looks gorgeous and the feel of it is wonderful. I'm actually going to frame this. I do have it up for sale in my Painting for Paws at jackswatercolor.com. If anybody wants to buy it and contribute to the Painting for Paws program where I rescue animals, then this one is for sale. Until then, it is going on my wall because I love it. I really love it. All right, so that's the game plan. Let's get some materials here and we will get started. So as I said, I've got some beautiful colors in the holiday palette. The colors that I'm going to be using today, for those of you following along, are Christmas Red, Holiday Berry, Pine Green, and White Diamond. If I feel like it, you know, I will pull colors from other palettes. So that's why we have the other ones here. So if I do want to pull colors, I've got my Amber Fields palette here, which is also beautiful. It's got like a terracotta, a capri blue, it's got a golden ochre, and then of course that olive metallic that I love so much. Guys, if you love the metallics, they are available for sale at Jack's Watercolor in the metallic handmade watercolor section. Okay, so do we have water? Oh, nice, right? Did I actually bring water in here? You know, I did not. So hang out for a sec. Look at this gorgeous Christmas. And let me grab some water. Can't believe I would bring water. Typical of me, right? Alrighty, we got water. No birds in here today, guys, because they're all being naughty. Every single one is being naughty. They are just, I think they're excited about the Christmas season, maybe. I don't know. Okay, little sponge to wipe off things. Here we go. Let's dig in, shall we? So I have several brushes on my desk to pull from. Mostly just pointed rounds is what I use a lot of this time of year. Whatever you like, if you like angular shaders, you know, experiment with your brushes. As I pull them, I will definitely tell you what I'm using. I think this first one, I'm going to do this orientation so it opens this way. And we're going to do something kind of fun with a waterproof pen. Now, I don't remember if the Sarasa waterproof pen was truly the waterproof pen, but because this is 100% cotton, I feel like the marker pen might bleed a little bit and I want something thin for this one. So let me have a little sip of my coffee and I'll get to sketching in our design. I'm excited about this. So this is a little more modern looking Christmas card if you like that look. A straight edge was probably going to serve us really well here, so let's keep this on hand for something straight. I'm going to try and do this in as little picking up my pen as possible and very, very sketchy style. Now this one is going to be like a little bit of foliage with some Christmas balls. And the idea is to get it really sketchy. We're not going to worry about where we're going to put any kind of writing on it until later, because we can always do that at a later time. Right now, I'm just going to start with a design. So let's do one Christmas ball that's in front of our design. And I think for that, I don't know, that is kind of big, but it's kind of fun, right? I'm wondering if I should just freehand it or if I should use something. I like to freehand them, but I just don't know if maybe that's gonna be, that's kind of nice, but it's a little small. I'm gonna freehand it. Okay, here I go. Now it's sketchy, so I'm gonna go around a couple of times. If this doesn't work for you, then by all means, use something to balance you out. But honestly, I want these multiple little lines like that. I want it to be very, very sketchy. And I'm actually going to go through a couple of times and just give it some of those neat little unique lines. On the bottom here, I want something that's partially covered with our foliage, and on the top probably as well. So let's go ahead and put some of the foliage in. And I'm just going to kind of sketch this in. Cool, right? I know. Something really fun. It's very, very modern looking. And I think that the more sketchier, this is going to be great for my ladies who keep complaining that their hands are not steady and they're not great at sketching. I think this is the card for you, my dear. This is going to be something you're going to be like, wow, that's so cool. How come I never thought of making that happen? Now, remember, if you are following me, then you know I just recently posted a picture encouraging you guys to take a look at the foliage around right now, because we have a lot going on. As the leaves dry, they're showing their tells really, really well. They're showing us some really beautiful, beautiful looks. And what I feel is this is the time of year where you really, really want, I feel like this, just where should it be? I don't want it directly under that, so I almost feel like maybe here, but I also want it to, let's see, I also want it to be kind of hidden. This is the time of year where those beautiful leaves show what they're all about. So when you flip over a dry leaf that is in fall, what happens is it shows you all those gorgeous veins and how they work. And things that you didn't really see before, you can really see now. Look at that. Cool, right? Wait till we do something with it. Okay, so I'm gonna put some berries here. Don't you love this roughness? I think it's gonna be stunning. It's gonna be something so different. And once again, for my gals that have trouble with a shaky hand, or you feel like you don't sketch really well, this is the card for you. And you know what? It's probably going to be something that you will love to do and be so addicted to, because it is pretty cool. And when it works out, it's really, really nice too. It looks good. So there's my little berries. The top of this is going to have a little bit, and here I didn't put that in yet. Let's put this up. So we do want that base string to go up there. We want to make sure that we get it. And I think actually I'm going to do a couple of lines, because like maybe just, because one line kind of looks funny, but because we're very sketchy, a couple lines, and then we'll put maybe a ball up here. And let's see. Again, if you don't feel like you can get it round enough, and as you see, I'm kind of like, I am getting it round, but it's not perfect by any means. And then I also go over and get it more sketchy, you know? And then we'll do some like rounding lines here. But I'm actually encouraging my hand to shake. All right, let's do our line up. So this is what that straight edge would be great for. just like that. Perfect. Okay. And now we want more foliage here. Pretty cool, right? So much fun to do. I love it. All right, and I'm gonna come out here with some more berries. And probably here with there. Okay, let's color in. So much fun. Yay. All right, so I'm taking my pointed round and I'm going to create a background first. So for the background, let me think. So in this one, we did the green, right? And then we did the darker green. I kind of love that look. I think that's interesting. I think we can also change up some of the green by adding maybe a little bit of yellow. I think that would be interesting. We want to save the berry for the berries, and maybe do red berries and then more purpley colors for the balls. Might be really, really pretty. So let's start with our background. And I think I've got a choice. I can either do like a metallic in the background, or I can do like a yellowy green in the background. Let's see what our green looks like if we mix a little bit of our blue. Let's see how that looks. But I want it to match the other green, right? So here's how I make the decision. So I have my little tin of my colors over here. So this is our pine green. And if we mix that pine green with a little bit of the yellow ochre, then we get a different green, right? So let me see how this looks. I actually think that's the green I want for my background. So it's a green made from, where's my green? It's a green made from the pine mixed with the yellow. And we're just gonna rough it right in there. Around our design. Now don't worry, because the green on the leaves is going to be a little darker than our background. If you're not perfect with it, that's okay. Remember, this kind of modern design, I think it looks better when it's a little bit messy. You know what I mean? So just mix yourself up some color. And don't worry about it being perfect. I think messy is going to really be the thing. It's going to look very natural. You want enough of the color in here because remember you have a dry shift. Not so much with these colors because this is professional watercolor. It doesn't have any fillers. And it's got like 3 times the pigment load of any other watercolor on the market because it is handmade. So you're not going to have as much of a issue with dry shift unless you paint aiming for a dry shift. And what I mean like that is like here where we added a lot of water, you know, then I kind of encouraged more of that really, really light so pretty. Okay, so you can see now I've got my areas kind of covered in. Very simply. This paper is so cool to paint on. I really love it. It's very, very good for loose watercolor because it encourages you, because of the roughness, it encourages you not to be perfect. And I think that that's really important these days, is to give yourself a break. You can come up with some really gorgeous, gorgeous looks, you know? All right, so now let's go in with our darker color. So we've got our darker color, and in some of these areas, I would just go ahead and touch in the darker color next to areas that might look better with a little shadow, you know? So these areas really, really close to the designs that could naturally use a nice little shadow, this will really, really do a good job. And you don't want to leave light, but at the same time, look at how pretty that looks, right? Areas that might be better not being just one color, but isn't that pretty? So you've kind of got this little thing that's going to make the design stand out even just that little bit more. Okay, so there we got that piece. Let's go, and now we're going to go over some of the areas of the leaves. So we want to work with our color at different strengths. So let's take a look at the design. Now remember, we have a ball right here, right? So we don't want to go into that, but we do want to paint the leaves with our watercolor, but not entirely, because what we want is we don't want to just cover it in color. We want kind of some of that sketchiness to remain, right? And so that's going to happen in two ways. It's going to happen if we leave a little lighter greens and a little darker greens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in different areas here, and I'm going to encourage a little more water at first so that I capture some of those lighter green areas. Now we've already got a contrast in the colors, right? Because our colors, we used the like more olivey green by mixing in the ochre to the green, but it's still the same green. So even though the tone is different, it's gonna look really well put together, but different enough. I love this like kind of minty look that the color has right now. I think it's really, really pretty. So as you see, I'm just kind of going over. We're gonna let it set up a little bit before we start to darken that color, but I'm just kind of like roughing in that area. Now this is a very thick cotton paper, so at the same time, we're gonna notice that there's gonna be a lot of area that will take a long time to dry, like more than usual, you know? Okay, so here's this. This is where our leaf finishes. Okay, so that's where we're gonna have to be careful. So now, while this is drying, I can go ahead and do the red, but we need to stay within our lines. So much like I did on this project, which is a video coming up for my members, I stayed in the lines. So what we need to do is we're gonna decide where the red's gonna go and how dark. I would suggest doing the darker parts of the red in the lower right hand section, as if that is like the more brilliant, the more shadow, right? So I'm gonna start with the dark here on this one and try to stay in those lines. And if it doesn't and it bleeds, it's not a big deal. I had stuff bleeding all over the place when I was doing the other one. Okay, so I got that. So it's bleeding here. It's fine because we're gonna end up doing shadows anyway. Now I'm gonna take some of my berry, my holiday berry color. Oops, sorry. And I'm gonna mix it in, and bam, just give this a little more color. Because remember, we've got berries to paint, so we still want the red. Again, darker down at the bottom. Okay, just like that. Let's rinse out our brush, and we're gonna pull this color up. Now you can also do this the other way, you know, where you start with the light and go towards the dark. That's fine. I'm going to get some bleeding because I'm so close to the edge, but I'm going to let it bleed because I think ultimately, I think it looks pretty cool when it bleeds, and it helps me get more depth of color later. So if it wants to bleed towards the right or the lower right, that's kind of a happy accident. This is a trust in the process moment, that's for sure, because you're going to be like, oh my God, it's getting so messed up. It's really not. It's going to be really cool. Just watch. All right, so now let's take the red, and we're just going to get that red into those little bally areas there. And again, if you don't like the bleeding look, you can wait till each layer dries. Okay? I happen to like the softer look, so I do tend to do that, you know? Like I'm just gonna even add some red here and there where I think it'd be really cool, you know? And then even when after it's dry, I might even go back in and add red. Now see this bleeding that's happening down here? I'll show you two things we can do. So you can work with it, or you can even remove some just by getting a angular shader, drying it partially, and sucking up some of that color. And that allows you to control the color and the bleed, just like that. Now in some of these areas, I gotta tell you, I want that bleed because I really like it, and I would like to play with it a little bit, you know? So for me, I'm kind of happy about it, and I encouraged it. If you don't want to take any chances, again, just let it dry before you add the different colors. But in my world, I love colors to mix together, and I love to see what happens with them. So, you know, that's me, right? But you also do you. And whatever happens in a painting, just go with it. You know, don't ever lock yourself down to something. Hi there, everybody. How are you? Great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's really good to see you. So you see how I've got the color shifts, right? So now let's just take our angular shader, since I've got it in my hand, and we're going to add some, I'm mixing my red here. We're going to add some areas in those color zones. So you know where I had those little style lines? Can you see those little style lines? This is, we can kind of go into those style lines and just bring in some color, keeping the darker color more towards the bottom. And again, if it bleeds, don't worry about it. We'll deal with it later. It's a happy accident. So I'm actually encouraging some of the lights, right? Okay, so in areas where it's kind of dry, I don't know, not enough dry, but kind of dry, let's work on that while we let that kind of evolve a little bit. So I'm going to take the darkest version of my color, and I'm going to get in some shaded areas. Now, if I go in an area like this and it bleeds, then I'll deal with it later, like I always say, right? But if it doesn't bleed, then great. We'll see where it goes. Now this is a very heavy, high cotton paper. So I full on expect this to bleed, because that's just the nature of a paper like this, you know? It's gonna wanna carry that color around. So in some cases, maybe start small, or again, let it really, really dry. But I find that I really love the result when it does bleed, you know? So I'm just kind of dabbing down the color and seeing if I can keep it outside the lines. And what I'm doing is, my goal here is to kind of look for areas that I feel like here where it did bleed, where I feel like it should be darker rather than lighter. And I'm putting that in. for now. So areas that maybe the ball is sitting on top of the leaf would be a good idea to make that a little darker. And you can see where some of that berry color, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Because I'm adding color there. So now it's okay because it's just being covered. And that's what I was saying is a lot of the bleeding, it doesn't matter at first because you're probably going to end up putting a shadow there, or, you know, like making it more detailed just a bit, and that's going to like be a layer that you'll end up covering, or maybe you'll like the layers so much that you'll end up keeping the color there, because I don't really mind it. I think it looks kind of neat. Okay, so then around my little berries here, I'm just kind of tapping in just a bit more color, but try not to cover the berries. Okay, so we've got some nice color in there, right? So some of these areas like here, I'm going to go ahead and strike down because that's a great area to make it look like more highlighted. And then here, this one right here that goes underneath this other leaf, that's another good one to do. Here in the center of my leaf, I can bring this down on this side. I kind of really like this raspberry there. I don't think I want to cover that. Here, I'm going to try and create more of a fold on this one. Here, this can be a flip side. Very modern, right? Maybe we'll just accent this leaf. Bring some of that color. And here, I think I'll just go ahead and paint half of the leaf. Okay, so it's coming together, right? We're starting to get a look. Now let's go ahead and start using lighter versions of this same color. In a very like sketchy style. So I'm just gonna pull some water through here to blend in some of those areas. But remember, you want to leave some light. You don't want to cover all the light. You just want some different tones blended in between. So you've got your dark contrast and your light areas, but then you've got this blending happening. And you can do this with a pointed round. You can do this with an angular shader. I kind of like the angular shader at this point because it's a little more control, and it gives me like that that edge, right, that my little scribbles have. Isn't that cool looking? It's looking good, right? It's looking really cool. Okay, so now that we have that, let's see any areas that maybe could use a little more shadowing. So that would be a little bit of our red and a little bit of our purple, our berry color. So maybe here, go back in and put some of that shadowing in. Maybe here, over on this side, maybe over on this side, and at the bottom. Trust in the process. You're like, what is she doing? Where is she going with this? Trust in the process. Because I have a little secret weapon coming out, and it's gonna really make all the difference in the world. I love this little light grouping of crazy red here that's just kind of dotted and not perfect. In fact, I think I'm going to do that over here. So let's get some red going over here. And because we're placing this red right over another color, it's going to be like more dark berry, and that's fine. All right, now let's take our areas here, like that we might want to clean up, and let's see if what we can clean up on them for now. So again, this wouldn't happen if we had more time. So I don't mind it because I know what I'm going to do with it. But if you don't want that, just wait for that layer to dry. Okay? So now I'm going to go back down in here. We're going to leave that until it dries. Right now, I'm going to pull out my white diamond. And I'm going to pull out a pointed round. So let's get this going in our honey pot here. The honey pots are really fun to work with because they re-wet so well. You can keep them wet or keep them dry. I prefer to let them dry out because then I know they're gonna not need refrigerating. If you want to keep them wet, that's okay. They are so easy to re-wet though, and then you know you can do anything with them. So now I'm going to go in, and in this area where we have it light on our little balls, we're going to add that white diamond. You can add as much as you want. Look at how cool it looks. It's so pretty. It's looking good. Look at the shimmer. Wait till it dries. I also encourage you, like depending on how much shimmer you want on these balls, just to add layers, like do it in layers. Okay, and then in some other areas like down here, we can actually do little round markings. Like the bogan. Very Christmassy. Like little sparkles. Surprisingly, white diamond has a lot of coverage. You wouldn't think it would because it's a watercolor and it's got the ability to be so transparent if you want it to be. But if you build it up and keep adding to it, it will be a very, very cool looking like white snowy effect. I'm just going to kind of go over some of my leaves a little bit, just kind of give it a dusting, just for fun. So I'm kind of going, just dusting some of these little areas just a bit. My red is still so wet that it's actually leaving some red in my white, but that's okay. Not a big deal. I actually love working from dirty palettes. If you have seen a lot of my videos, you know, I just do. I think the colors that come out of dirty palettes are so cool, especially greens. I love discovering new greens. It's what I love making watercolor for, you know. Okay, I got a lot of this going on here. Let's put some more. So like some different large and little groupings of the balls. Look at how pretty that is. So now let me just point out some stuff that we learned. So see these areas here where it bled? Do you see how it does look a little more pink, but it's almost like the ball is shining on, right? It almost looks like it's giving it that glow from the ball. So you don't necessarily want to kill it, right? Because if it's glowing onto another subject, it actually looks really nice. I think it looks great. You know what I mean? That's something that I prefer. I don't really want to take that glow away, and I wish I had more of it now. So that's something that you want to kind of like see if it works for you, you know? Now, the reason why I don't love it down here is because it's lighter on the background. So I'm going to work with that. So here I'm going to grab my angular shader and a bunch of the darker color, and I'm actually going to create some leaf areas. Now, hopefully it doesn't look like this is dry enough, but I'm going to go for it anyway because I don't want you here forever waiting for this one card. Let's see how I just kind of like, I'm going to create some darker leaf areas around our little spots. And it didn't do too bad. It's not actually bleeding into there that much. But see how that just kind of changes things? And as a final layer, we're actually going to do that with some of the edges of our leaves where they fixate on another item, like another object. And what is that? That's going to help us make some come up. So like this area here is going to make that come up. This is going to come up. And then if I darken this little area here, it's going to make the leaf above it shine through just a bit more. And it's actually going to make this look even so much more modern and interesting to look at. Except for this area that is already bleeding. Let's see if we can dry it. Put some paper towel, and that should dry that up a little bit to keep it from bleeding into the next. So this area here is a little leaf that I want, and we do want to cover that glow. I like the glow here. It's kind of fun. Oops. Oh, happy accident though. Cover this little light area here, make it a little darker. And one more up at the top to make our ball stand out just a bit more. I think here too. And some like rough edging. Yeah, because we've got this down here, right? We want some rough edging. So now I'm going to clean this up, and we're going to see if this paper allows us to remove any of this color to make the variety a little different. It doesn't really, but it's because it's so absorbent, and I've got it pretty saturated right now. It is pretty wet, but did pretty good, you know? And I can actually draw back a little bit of my green if I want to, and this is just to give you an option so that you can make these choices for yourself. So if you feel like it's too heavy and you want to do little minor tweaking adjustments, watercolor is great that way because you can just use a damp, clean brush and you can add a bit of water to it, and you will lighten that look just a bit. Oh, this is so great. I love it. So there we go. That is it for right now. Now, if you wanted to, if this is drying up light in any areas and you wanted to make it a little bit darker, don't forget, you can use watercolor a little thicker as it dries, and you can add that extra layer. Now that works if it is a good quality watercolor. If you find that your watercolor looks muddy, it looks dull, that is just your watercolor working against you. So it's great to invest in beautiful watercolor because it's less frustrating, of course, to use, you know? And this allows me even to take care of some of my design work here. with my lines. Now, once this dries, if you wanted to go back in with your pen and make it more sketchy again, you can always do that. The choice is yours. But I think this came out really cool, really dramatic and fun. What do you think? Do you like this one? I think it's really neat. I love it. All right, so let's do a quick card as our second option. Now that I spent so much time on that one card because it was just fun and I just wanted to go with it, but I also want to give you maybe something kind of like easy and fun that you can do that doesn't take a lot of time. So how about we do something, maybe since I've already done 2 Christmas balls, how about we do a really fun tree? So we're going to take this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to start with just some green. So let's just take our dark green. Normally, I would encourage you to do some fun stuff in the background, but maybe because I don't want to spend a lot of time waiting for that to dry. Let's do the top of our tree here, the bottom of our tree here, the side of our tree there, and there, and there, and there. Okay, so we kind of know where we're going with that. And we're just going to start dabbing and kind of doing this crossy thing. Now this is rough paper and a whole lot of really beautiful dark color. So this is of course going to look so cool because of the rough paper and because it's 100% cotton. So I'm just using a lot of water and a lot of thick paint, right? Now the areas that I don't paint are going to look kind of snowy. So that's kind of neat. And I'm going crosswise. So see this area I'm going down, this area I'm going down the other way. Look at that beautiful tree, so fast. You can do this with wreaths as well. And I encourage you to try and not cover a lot of the white space. Make it nice and rough like that and just put in that beautiful color. Now in those white spaces, we can add a little bit of glitter, we can add snowballs, we can do whatever we want. But if you add any color for the bulbs just yet while it's this wet, it will bleed. If you like the bleed, which I do, you can do a mix of bleed and non-bleed. Or you can start with a little bit of this olive. Now this olive, what it's going to do is it's going to hit some of the areas that are really green and just kind of turn it a little different. So I'm just kind of going through. Now if I would have hit this with red, it would have made some really, really big red watermarks, but instead I'm doing it with the green. I love this green color. It's green metallic is my favorite. I use it for so many things like landscapes, and I just love the way it looks. I think it's just gorgeous. And then at the top, we're going to take our green and we're going to start loading up like a very, very rough star or an angel, whatever it is that you like. So pretty. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Nice to have you, Kelly. I like the rough paper too. It's fun, right? Especially for like more, I don't know, more interesting looking Christmas cards, I guess. Because like the smoother the paper, you're forced to like have to paint a lot, right? Because then you have a situation where if you don't paint enough detail, it kind of looks like unfinished, right? And if you paint a lot of detail, you really got to keep going, right? So I feel like rough paper is just so much easier to deal with, you know? Okay, so now you can either leave the bottom and like put something down there, or you can just kind of take some of the the green and just kind of create something fun, just like that. Oh, I love the way this paper goes. It's so nice. Oh my goodness, so pretty. Okay, what else can we do? Lots of other things. We can actually put Christmas balls on here. You can do a backdrop if you wanted to. Like you can start adding a color. So say, I don't know, say you wanted some color in the background, like maybe take the berry, right? Mix it in your palette and just start rolling it around. Add water. I just, depending on if you like things to look more loose, you might want to just kind of be careful when you get to the edges of your design, right? And maybe wait till, like, do the fine edges of your design after your design is dry. I'll show you what it looks like just by touching it. I'm just going to go ahead and let it touch, like let the barrel of my brush touch into the design, because I love these little happy moments. So I'm going to go in and just kind of fill, and let that explode out a little bit. Now, once we get enough of the color here, and why not? If I don't do it, then you're not going to know what it's going to look like if you wanted to fill in the background after. Because this tree is so cool, you could let the background wait and then fill it in, but then you wouldn't have the white, you know? So this is kind of like, if you want to maintain the white, you have to do it this way. So now that I've got that, it didn't really bleed that much. I can also take some of the red and kind of go through and give the red its moment in here to make it just a little more berry. Then let's take more red and maybe decorate our tree a bit. I think it's dry enough, but I think still it's going to bleed a little bit. But for me, I love that look, like I said, you know. I think it looks cool. Let's see what happens when we add our yellow, just full strength in between those areas. I really like that, actually. Probably just me. And then if there's areas where, like, see how it's really, really bleeding because it's so wet, you can go in and just take a little bit off just to control it. But I love the mix of color on this. I think it's so neat. I could have so much fun playing with different colors, and then as it dries, I can always go back in and add more green, you know? Like, you're not stuck, because this beautiful green is so brilliant and dark. You can really, like, play with it, you know? Like, I can go back and I can add more green back in there. I'm never stuck. And if anything, it mixes with my metallic olive so nicely that if I want to load up on more green in areas, you can take it right out of the honey pot and load it in. That's what's so great about the honey pot formula. It is amazing. And then if you see it bleeding out, just stop it with your paper towel. Just let it dry. But again, you know, some of these bleeds are not bad. They're not a bad idea, because you don't want like a perfect tight tree, I would say, you know, like it to look too tight. How cool is that? This is gorgeous. Ooh, I love it. Ooh, so pretty. And the background is so neat because it's got the different, like we did all the berry, but then we added shots of red and it's just kind of like combining on its own, you know? You just like load the shots in and it's a very easy, neat background. Now this is happening this way because of the paper. It's going to do different things on different papers. So keep that in mind. And then as this dries, it's going to look a little different as well. So like, let's go back and look at this. See how it dried? It looks so cool, right? So it's very, now you can see the sketchy marks. The lines are coming forward because the paper is drying. So one thing great about 100% cotton paper is it's going to look different when it's dried, and that's why you want to trust the process. And then once it's dry, I can always go back in and I can do more. I can darken areas, I can brighten areas, I can add more glitter. There's just like so much that you can do. You're very flexible, right? So this is happening this way, but you can see some of these areas are going to dry very, very light, and that's going to give you another look. So you can always go back in and do more work on it and just play with it. I encourage you never to feel like you're stuck or that you've made a mistake. There's always something you can do when you have beautiful watercolors to work with. And just keep your mind open. Never shut yourself down or feel like, oh, that's, that's not what I wanted. It could be what you wanted. You just don't know yet. Like maybe even walk away from it a day, If you watch my videos, I can even make videos for you guys on how to make things look different once, once you have walked away. That's even something fun. So this one is coming up for my members as well. You will get this video soon because I'm going to release it early, but I wanted to jump on today and just give you a little like food for thought on the dramatic cards. Last year I did less dramatic cards and more, I don't know, I guess like simple cards, but you might want to go check out those videos too. I thought this year we would do a very dramatic palette and do something just a little more, I guess, interesting or dramatic and more sketchy and kind of something that just we haven't attempted to do so far. All right, guys, it's great to see you again. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please don't forget to tell friends about the watercolor and what we're doing over here at Jack's Watercolor. I love you guys. Bye.